you for this opportunity for interviewing you. I would like to ask how would you evaluate the possibility of granting Armenia the status of candidate of EU, taking into consideration that Armenia didn't sign association agreement. Armenia is a member of Eurasian Economic Union and Collective Security Trading Organization, and Armenia doesn't have common border with EU. Don't you think that these facts are obstacles for granting Armenia the status of candidate of EU?
Armenia and the European Union have a very strong relationship, a very strong partnership. This is based on the Comprehensive and Enhanced Partnership Agreement, which was signed back in 2017. Then we have had partnership priorities, which were agreed in the beginning of 2018. In the context of the SEPA, the Comprehensive and Enhanced Partnership Agreement, Armenia has a lot of obligations which have to do with approximation to the EU legislation. And this is an extremely important factor which makes our cooperation very concrete in the first place, but also helps the reforms on the ground. On the basis of these reforms, we have advanced the cooperation over the past few years. As you know, the EU is the main reform partner of Armenia, and we currently have a portfolio of more than 350 million of EU grant assistance to Armenia in different and various sectors. We are now working to deepen this partnership in particular after the presentation by the Prime Minister at the European Parliament, where he talked about the deepening and coming closer to each other. We have advanced the cooperation, we have launched the work on a new partnership agenda, and the new resilience and growth plan has been presented. So all this has brought Armenia much closer to the European Union, and we are now working to deliver on the ground on this agenda. Now, all the facts that you mentioned are extremely important. They have to be taken into consideration. When it comes to granting the candidate status, I want to stress that the Treaty of the European Union is very clear, and what is the procedure, what are the rights, the obligations of potential interest to apply for membership to the European Union. And it is a sovereign decision of the Armenian people. So I think we are not there. We are discussing on the new partnership agenda, but on the other side, it is really a sovereign decision to decide what would be the relationship between a partner country and the European Union. And probably you have seen also there was a resolution of the European Parliament which talks about the strengthening of the relationship. This shows the support which exists on the side of the various EU institutions to strengthen the relationship.
Mm-hmm. About the diversification of Armenia's policy, we often hear statements from EU representatives that they are to help Armenia to diversify its policy, but there are some statistics that, for example, 87.5% of gas imported to Armenia is from Russia. The lion's share of exports goes to Russia. In this situation, how you imagine the economic and foreign policy diversification of Armenia?
European Union supports the policy of the government of Armenia. The government of Armenia has a policy of strengthening the competitiveness and the diversification of the economy. In this context, we are partners. We have already provided assistance in the context of the economic and investment plan and in the context of the various reforms which will bring to Armenia more competitiveness, I would stress, and diversification is another term, I believe, for competitiveness and for strengthening the sovereignty. So we are a partner in this context. We are having also programs which help to develop the quality infrastructure, the infrastructure which will make the private sector more competitive, but we are also supporting the private sector. And more than 350 million have been invested in the private sector development in the past period in the context of the economic and investment plan. In the area of the energy, this is also part of this new resilience and growth plan, and we are ready, of course, to do more, but we are already doing a lot in terms of renewables, so that the new opportunities which are linked with the climate transition, but also the use of renewables can be offered to Armenia. There are already investments which take place when it comes to the solar power. But we are in particular supporting the increased connectivity. So the electricity connectivity line, which will allow also toward Georgia, which will allow also Armenia to participate in the submarine Black Sea electricity cable, which will make the connection with Europe much closer. All this is essential in order to strengthen Armenia's resilience, but also new possibilities which will be offered when it comes to energy transition, energy diversification. And I want to stress also another factor. The European Union has been investing in particular in the past period in nuclear safety. More than 60 million in EU grants have already been invested in Metsamor nuclear power plant, and we will continue to support this investment in nuclear safety because of the importance nuclear power has for Armenia, but also in order to address the concerns of the citizens of Armenia when it comes to nuclear safety. So in all these areas, I think that we have to see what is the current level of the partnership, but also how we can further strengthen this relationship. By the way, when it comes to trade diversification, 2 weeks ago we had here the visit of the Vice President of the European Commission, Mr. Valdis Dombrovskis, and we discussed with, he is also the Commissioner responsible for trade, and we discussed with the government about trade and economic diversification. There are a lot of opportunities there, and Mr. Dombrovskis in particular presented the opportunities which are linked with the participation in the EU's program for the single market. And this is something which is going to help Armenian companies which want to export more into the EU single market to acquire the tools and to be able to have more opportunities for exporting in the EU market. So the EU market is ready to receive new products from the Armenian side. We need to work together to make sure that this is something which is possible on the basis also of the various standards that the Armenian production is using.
After the last meeting in April, when President of European Commission, EU High Representative, Secretary of State of the United States of America, Prime Minister of Armenia met, there was criticism that political issues weren't discussed in Brussels, and I would like to ask what's the amount of support for Armenia in order Armenia has the opportunity to get rid of Russia's support, Russia's influence? Is this support from EU, from West, proportional to the support which Armenia gets now from Russia?
The meeting on the 5th of April in Brussels was very, very important for the partnership, very important for Armenia, and I think it shows also the degree of coordination that we have between the European Union and the US. We are supporting Armenia's sovereignty, we are supporting Armenia's resilience, and we are supporting choices that the government of Armenia and the people of Armenia are doing. We are not compensating for something else, and we are not going to make any calculations which have to do with the issues that you have mentioned. However, our support is very concrete. It is a support to the resilience of the society in terms of reforms. The reforms are continuing. The EU has always been a key reform partner of Armenia, and we will continue to do so. We are supporting the economic and trade diversification through a very concrete investment that we are doing to, first of all, the private sector. Private sector companies receive very concrete assistance from the EU. I already mentioned the figure of 300 million, but this is going to continue. And also we are going to support the reforms which will make Armenian products much more competitive, for instance in the area of veterinary controls, food safety, phytosanitary controls. And this will allow Armenia not only to export to the European Union, but also to export to other competitive markets in the world. And there has been a very notable and noticeable movement of increase of Armenia's export to the Emirates, to other countries which are having needs which can be covered by the Armenian production. So in this context, we are strengthening the resilience of Armenian economy. Through this package, we are going to strengthen also and to continue supporting the integration, the inclusion, the long-term livelihood of refugees, of the displaced persons from Nagorno-Karabakh. The European Union and its member states have already provided more than 60 million in grants for this support, and we are now discussing the continuation of a new budget support program under our 2024 programming, but also the possibilities to support the housing program of the government. So this is an additional element of the resilience that we are of Armenia, which we are ready to further support, supporting the efforts of the government, supporting the efforts of the people, supporting the efforts of the civil society. We are about to prepare and sign a new program on top of what I just already mentioned, a new program of 9 million euro, which is going to support integration, employment, but also psychological support to the people from Nagorno-Karabakh, and we will continue to do so. One other important element of support which I would like to bring to the attention of your audience is also our support to Syunik. Syunik is an area region of Armenia which has been exposed, among others also to the presence of an important number of refugees from Nagorno-Karabakh. And we have, in Team Europe, we have allocated more than 120 million euro together with our member states and Switzerland in order to support the socio-economic development, refugee integration, small infrastructure, but also investment in human capital in Syunik. We are going to support the creation of two new centers under the foundation COAF, the Children of Armenia Foundation, which will provide very concrete opportunities, in particular to kids from unfavorable social and family environments, in order to acquire the skills which will allow them to be better integrated in the job market, but also to participate in social and economic life. So I think that these are all very, very important and significant efforts that the European Union is doing. And of course, the key issue here is the reforms that the government is undertaking, the reforms which will make your country more sovereign, more resilient, and we are supporting these kind of reforms. Without the commitment of the people, the commitment of the civil society, the commitment of the private sector, and the commitment of the government, I think the assistance of the European Union would not be enough to strengthen your institutions, your resilience, and your sovereignty. So we are here to support the choices that the Armenian people are doing.
And what about the EU-Armenian cooperation in security area? Because the question rises among the majority of Armenian society. What toolkit EU has to help Armenia if Azerbaijan, for example, attacks? Because there is a belief among the public that only Russia has toolkit to be that good or not.
Yeah. The European Union is supporting all the reforms which take place in Armenia. It supports also the reforms which can strengthen Armenia's security. We have a very intense dialogue in this area, and as you know, we have been exploring the opportunities of further support, in particular under the European Peace Facility. We have also deployed, upon the request of Armenia, a very important and significant civilian monitoring mission, which is monitoring the situation at the border of Azerbaijan, has helped to reduce the tensions there. And as you know, we are very much involved in facilitating the peace process. We support all the work and the efforts and the negotiations which are aiming at peace and normalization in the region, and we are very much and clearly against the use of any force. So from that perspective, our significant support to the peace and normalization is there, is already present on the ground, and the people of Armenia have in particular appreciated the presence of this EU civilian mission, which has already brought very concrete results.
You just now spoke about the further strengthening of the mission. Can you tell what do you mean? Will it mean that the Petrol's mandate will be enlarged? And also provide information regarding the implementation of the mission in the problematic areas such as Nerkinhand?
The mission is here to patrol and monitor the border. It has already been enlarged in terms of the staff, the monitors and the support staff. The decision has been taken, it is already in the process of being implemented, so the enlargement of the mission in terms of its staffing is already present. When it comes to the areas to be monitored and how this will be done, this is done in cooperation, in particular with the Armenian authorities when it comes to access to all the areas, and we are discussing now concretely with the Armenian authorities on how we will guarantee the access to all the areas which are covered by the mandate of this mission.
Mm-hmm. Still no progress in this question. For example, mission has the access to the Nerkinhand or not, as it used to be?
We are in close touch with the government of Armenia to ensure that the mission can access all the areas which are covered by its mandate.
Mm-hmm. And Mr. Ambassador, about the support package to Armenia, because please tell us some more things about this, because in 2021 there was stated that EU is allocating 1.6 billion euros for 5 priority special programs, and by mobilizing an additional 1 billion euros from the other sources, and EU is able to consider 2.6 billion euros for Armenia with this program. From these 2.6 billion euros, how much is mobilized for Armenia already?
That was part of the economic and investment plan for the region, and I have to say that Armenia is one of the, let's say, most important beneficiaries of this program. 2.6 billion euro was the maximum amount of expected investment. From the EU budget, what we were envisaging, as you rightly said, was 1.6 billion. However, this amount is only indicative, and it could be higher or lower depending on how the various investments on the ground can go. What we have done already so far, and it was announced by also President von der Leyen at the meeting on the 5th of April, is that we have mobilized more than 550 million euros. This amount has been mainly allocated to private sector development, to green Yerevan, I'm sure that the people of Yerevan, but also the visitors of Yerevan, have appreciated the new green buses which are available for public transportation in the city, which is very, very important and has provided very concrete comfort, I think, to those who use the public transport. Another area where we have worked in the context of Green Yerevan is the renovation and energy efficiency for more than 30 kindergartens, and I have visited many of them, and I have to say that I have seen very happy kids and very happy families in these kindergartens. So all this is part of this effort that we are making together in order to support the investments which are envisaged by the Armenian authorities. One pending, very important investment is the North-South highway, in particular the part which is between Sisi and Kajaran, which includes 3 lots. One of them is a new tunnel. So this investment is now advancing. We have made very good and important progress in preparation in the past period, and this investment is expected to attract more than 1 billion euro in terms of the funding. So you see that we are in very good track in implementing these projects, but these projects are not going to be the end of our cooperation. We are in the context of our interaction with the authorities. We have set up an investment platform. We are discussing on how we can accelerate these projects. I already mentioned also the electricity transmission line to Georgia. Other projects which may be needed in order to strengthen the overall resilience and competitiveness of your country, but mainly in order to strengthen the services which are also provided to citizens. I had the opportunity to travel to Syunik last week, and I have to say that there are a lot of possibilities, a lot of opportunities to further strengthen the infrastructure. So I'm very confident that we are in a very good track to implement the economic and investment plan, but also in the context of the resilience and growth plan, we are ready to add further investments which will help Armenia in its green digital transition, but also the overall strengthening of infrastructure. And here, let me also come back to what happened over last weekend with the disastrous floods in Lori and in Tavush. This is also an area in which we are very, very closely discussing with the Armenian authorities on how we can support either the infrastructure or the immediate needs of the population which has been affected by these floods. We are actually discussing this week here in Yerevan on how we can further support civil protection and the use of the civil protection mechanism by Armenia, the European Union civil protection mechanism. And in this context, we are ready to see what further needs may come up.
Mm-hmm. And also it's up to Armenia, yes? How much it can get from you. As I understand, it's also the problem of capacities of
the issue of capacities is very important for every partner of the European Union, every member state of the European Union. We have done good progress in the past period in strengthening the coordination, strengthening the interaction. I already mentioned the investment platform, which has helped to bring clarity on what needs to be done in terms of the various investments. And I'm very confident that with good coordination, with good cooperation, but with leadership on the side of the government, of the ministries, of the ministers, of the Prime Minister, we can advance our cooperation in the next period.
Mm-hmm. And Mr. Ambassador, I would also like to listen your opinion about what is going on inside Armenia, because there are some protests in the streets of Yerevan. I would like to ask whether it's acceptable for you, for EU, the actions of Armenian policemen in these days in the context of democracy.
Democratic reforms and the democratic credentials of the Armenian institutions, the Armenian government, the Armenian parliament, all the institutions, but also the civil society and the commitment of the people is very, very important. We are proud to be an important partner of Armenia when it comes to these democratic reforms, but I want to stress all the areas where we have been supporting in the past, in particular when it comes to justice, when it comes to police reform, when it comes to creation of the patrol police. The European Union has provided most and an important number of the cars which are used by the patrol police. But this is a process which will have to continue and which will continue, and we will continue supporting it. So all the issues which have to do with protests, democratic protests, as you say, but also the use of the police are extremely important for us, and this is why we monitor very closely all these developments. From Tavus, from here, from the various regions, and what is happening now in Yerevan. I think it is extremely important that everybody respects the rules, the regulations, and that there is a very clear commitment to democratic developments and democratic processes in the country.
Thank you.
Thank you.